went to that location of 1590 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard in response to information that 4 to 5 males were smoking narcotics outside of the store. When the defendant saw the officers, he took off running and in the process pulled a handgun from his pocket. He did not point the gun at anyone. It did admit to handing it to an unknown male. He was captured soon after the officers set up a perimeter. The defendant did have an outstanding probation warrant on 20 SC 174266, which is that aggravated assault, possession of a firearm, where he's currently under first offender. And he is currently in custody on that probation violation warrant. That, in addition to the fact he has that disorderly conduct conviction, the state does have concerns he will not follow the process of the law based on his lack of compliance with probation. We are asking for a $1,000 surety bond, $500 on each charge, stay away from the location of 1590 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
All right. Defendant will receive a $2,000. I'm sorry, Ms. St. Flex, I should let you speak. I apologize.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah.
So Mr. Dean, well, we want to say first that we did see a warrant number, but we did not see the actual warrant for this charge in the paperwork. So we don't know if there was a warrant that was given. I did not see that going through the paperwork that I received. As stated, he was on a first offender for the aggravated assault charge. So we would just ask the court for a signature bond, since he's already has the probation violation that he doesn't even have a court date for. So he's going to be in for a substantial amount of time with that. But if the court is not inclined to give a signature bond, we would ask for no more than a $1,000 surety bond.
All right. Defendant will receive a $2,000 surety, $1,000 on each count. He's to have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Is there anything further from the state or the defense as it pertains
Judge,
to
do
that?
you have multiple counts? Only had obstructions of a law enforcement officer.
I have 2 counts of obstruction.
Yes, we accused for 2 counts. There is 1 warrant. However, it was against 2 different officers, and normally we split it up in an alternative count.
Okay, Your Honor. I'm just going to argue that because it's the same transaction and occurrence, that's a duplicative warrant if it was at the same time. And so I'm just going to ask that a separate bond is not set for each charge, and that one of those charges is given a signature bond.
The bond will remain unset, all right?
And Your Honor, we did ask for a stay away from 1590 Josephine E. Boone Boulevard.
What was 1590 Joseph E. Boone? What is it?
It is, they just said a business. Let me just look it up real quick.
Just make sure it's not something essential. If it's an essential business, you can, I guess, address essential matters there.
It looks to be West Side Pavilion.
Okay, we can order that stay away then. All right. All right. We will now take up the other way position, Mr. Douglas, 23 CR 003862E, in which he's charged with simple battery family violence. Is this the case that Ms. Robinson is present for?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Robinson, at a certain point in the hearing, I will allow you to make a statement if you wish to. But Ms. Robinson, we're going to direct that you not address anything, any medical concerns as part of that statement, okay? All right, Mr. Howard, can I please have the history for that position?
Fifth arrest, 2019 simple battery, 2013 ag assault, 3 counts, battery DV, cruelty to children, those were convictions, and a battery conviction.
Okay. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened after 911 received a call about a family dispute involving a weapon at 532 Cleveland Avenue Southwest. Upon speaking with Aaliyah Hampton, the officers learned the defendant punched her in the face while she was arguing with her mother, Miss Douglas, in order to break up the argument. In response to the defendant striking her in the face, Miss Hampton stated she grabbed a bat to defend herself. Soon after, she and her boyfriend left the apartment and went to her aunt's house. Miss Douglas, who is the Miss Hampton's mother, also corroborated the story that Ms. Hampton pulled out a knife during the altercation, but the officers did not locate any weapons or anything that corroborate that statement. We will say that the defendant has multiple cases involving violence, including that 13 SC 116861 case where he's on a 10-serve-1 for aggravated assault, multiple counts involving family violence. That was against Brittany Mason and Christopher Douglas Jones Jr. Also, he had received 12 months with 150 days to serve on that 2019 family violence case involving Takina Scoggins. So there is a history here of at least two, and I believe pretrial stated a third, family violence cases. So for that reason, the state is recommending a $5,000 surety bond. We are also asking for a stay away from 532 Cleveland Avenue Southwest, no contact with Miss Aaliyah Hampton, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state. And I believe Miss Hampton, we would like to sound for Miss Aaliyah Hampton, and I believe Mr. Douglas's mother is present.
Okay. Ms. Hampton, are you present and wish to make a statement? Okay. Ms. St. Flex?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Visa Robinson is Mrs. Hampton's, the accusing witness mother. I'm not sure where the prosecution got her name, Miss Douglas. Probably assumed they were married, but Miss Robinson is actually the mother of Miss Hampton, and she's actually the person who lives at the residence. And she's the person who is alleged her daughter came after her with a knife, as discussed briefly. So based on my conversation with Miss Robinson, who was there at the time, Mrs. Hampton, the accusing witness in this case, did have a knife. She said that she did not think that the daughter, who was not charged in this case, was going to stab her, but Mr. Douglas thought that she actually may because of some previous instances. Mrs. Robinson stated that Miss Hampton does not live at the address. Her and her boyfriend, who I think the prosecution said went to someone else's house, does not live there. And so we are asking that there is not a stay away that is ordered. We have no issues with the no further contact. We have no objections to that. Mr. Douglas does have 4 kids that lives in Georgia, so he has significant ties to the community. He's been working at First Step Staffing, so he's been on a basis where he doesn't have completely consistent income and doesn't have the financial means right now, based on their struggling financial situation, to bond out to a $5,000 good bond. Additionally, per the conversation I had with Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Douglas was really trying to defend himself as well as his fiance, Miss Robinson, against Miss Hampton, but she assumes that since, Miss Hampton is a female and he is a male, that's why she was not arrested and he was. And additionally, Your Honor, she did state that there was sort of physical action taken towards Mr. Douglas by Mrs. Hampton, that could trigger the things that we talked about in the breakout room. And so that is a concern, and it's probably from her conversation a possible reaction to what took place. So we would just ask the court to speak with Ms. Robinson about who lives at the address, and whether or not Mr. Douglas can come back to the address. And we would ask the court, based on the circumstances that we spoke about and the dire nature we believe that would have on him at the Fulton County Jail, to allow him for a signature bond. If the court is not inclined for a signature bond, no more than $1,000 good bond.
All right. Defendant will receive a $4,000 surety bond. He's to have no contact with Ms. Hampton. He can return one time to the address on Cleveland Avenue with a member of law enforcement to ascertain whether or not the alleged victim is present. If she's not present, he can return to that location. Otherwise, he must stay away. Additionally, he's to have no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Is there anything further?
Nothing further.
Nothing further from the state.
All right, I believe that concludes the entire calendar. Ms. Robinson, I believe because you're not the alleged victim in this case, and I'm not imposing any sentences, I believe Ms. St. Flex did an excellent job of presenting any concerns that I may have had. I apologize if you feel that I have not allowed you to speak in error. However, I do not feel that your testimony was critically essential to my ruling today. All right, so that does conclude the hearing for Mr. Douglas at this time. All right, Ms. Bridgewater, will you please review the entire calendar for me?
Yes, I will. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is going to be June the 22nd. Position number 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,500 good bond. Position 2 is reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 3, SAP calendar with a $600 good bond. Position 4 is reset further notice, $4,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 5, reset further notice, $7,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 6, reset to the SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. Position 7 is going to the SAP calendar with a $4,000 good bond. Position 8 is reset further notice with a $4,000 SOB through pretrial per judge. Position 9 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. Position 10 is reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through the jail. Position 11 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,500 good bond. And position 12, reset SAP with a $2,000 good bond. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
I believe you said for position 1, reckless conduct, you said good bond. I've had signature bond for Mrs.
I have a $1,500 surety bond.
That's what I
I got a
have.
good bond.
Yes, it's a good bond.
For the reckless conduct? for
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs.? Okay.
It's a good bond.
Okay.
All right, everyone, take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay safe in that heat. All right.
Yes.
Have a
Bye,
good day.
Goodbye. Judge is on his way.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.